Okay, here is the video lesson for this next assignment. And again, don't just watch it, take notes, pause it when you need to, rewind it when you need to, and copy everything down, follow along. All right, so take the notes, don't just watch. Okay, so we're doing evaluating functions. Okay, we did part one. This is part two. And you're actually going to be looking at evaluating these kind of functions that are called piecewise, defined functions. Piecewise defined. Now you have not seen these, so here we go. Okay, a piecewise defined function, it's kind of in pieces. If you see the word here, it says pieces. It's a function that doesn't have the same behavior from a certain point to a certain point. It's doing one thing, and then once it hits the end of that point, then it kind of changes and it starts doing something else. This all makes sense later. We're going to actually graph these later, but right now we're not graphing. You're just evaluating. It's going to be the easier part of working with piecewise defined functions. All right, let's start with number one. It looks like this. You'll have a piecewise defined function that looks like this. And then they'll have like a comma, or maybe it'll say the word for. I know on Delta Math it says the word for, but then it's going to have an inequality over here. Okay, let me break it down. Copy this down again, pause it if you need to pause it to catch up. Okay. This is the way the problem looks. Okay, and it looks kind of complicated. I'm going to just put it in a little rectangle here. I'm going to tell you what's going on here. Really, oh, I forgot a little equal sign right there. Really, there's two functions here. One of them is, and I'm going to just copy this again here. This one on the top is f of x. You're going to use the function f of x is equal to x squared plus 3. When the values of x are what? When the values of x are what? What is this inequality? It says what? X is greater than 5. When the values of x that they ask you is greater than 5, then you use this function. Okay? So greater than 5, right? X is all the numbers that are greater than 5, so that would be like 6 and 7. See, it doesn't include the 5. It can be 5.1, 5.2, anything greater than 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Any number greater than 5, any value of x that is greater than 5, you use this function. See, that's this top one here. And then what else is here? This bottom one. There's a bottom function here also. And that is saying what? F of x is going to be what? 4x minus 6 when the values of x are what? Well, it says here when the values of x are less than or equal to 5. So you got to remember how to read your inequalities. So this top one up here is this one here. And the bottom one here is this one here. But instead of writing it twice, they kind of use this little notation with this little fancy bracket, and they write it this way. Okay? And what does this mean? X is a number that can be what? Equal to 5 or less than it. So that would be, if it's 5, it could be 5. Or 4, or 3, or 2, or 1, or 0, or the negative, see? So you got to remember how to read these inequalities. Okay, so let me put this problem again. Let's do a couple of problems here. For number 1, it was what? It was f of x is equal to, and again, they'll have this little fancy bracket right here, x squared plus 3 and 4x minus 6. And it was what? X is greater than 5, x is less than equal to 5. Okay, what if they ask you to evaluate and they ask you to find f of 2? Let's do this one first right here. If they ask you to find or evaluate f of 2, are you going to put it in both of these? No. See here, the value of x is 2. Here it's telling you that x is equal to 2. Now you got to use the correct one. You got to use the correct one. Which one is the correct one? This one says that I can only use the values that are what? Greater than 5. I'm only going to use this function up here on top when the value of x is a number that is greater than 5. So I'm not going to use this one because the value of x right now is 2. That is not a number greater than 5. This one here is the one that's telling you which one to use. So you got to look here to see which of the two functions to use. This one is saying what? Well, x can be a number that is 5 or any number that is less than 5. Well, then that means that you're using this one here. So you're going to be using which one? This bottom one. Yeah? Use the bottom function. You don't use all of them. See, it all depends on the domain, or your input is being controlled here. You have to look at the inequality. Okay, so then we just figure it out. We know that we're using this function. We know that x is 2. What does that mean? Well, if this is my function, that means that everywhere I see a x, I put what? A 2. So to evaluate f of 2, that's going to be what? 4 times 2 minus 6. That's going to be 8 minus 6. That's going to be what? A 2. So f of 2 is 2. All right. So what do they ask you for f of 10? Same piecewise defined function. Well, again, what is this saying? Well, here I got to see which one I'm going to use. You don't use both. Here, x is 10, right? X is 10. Which of these functions can you use the value x10? This one, see, because it says here I can use the values of x that are greater than 5, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's when you're going to use this one. Okay, because the value of x is a number that is greater than 5. So you wouldn't use it here. I don't need to use this one. Here you only use this function when the value of x is 5 or less. Okay, so then x is 10. That means right there we put a 10. That means right there we put a 10. So that's going to be f of 10 is equal to 10 squared plus 3, right? So the input is here, and right now I'm going to get the output. 10 squared is 100. 100 plus 3. Well, we're going to get the answer 103, right? So f of 10, the function, when I use 10 for the input, the output is 103. This is how you write it. This is how you write the answer. You don't just write 103, because this is telling me what the input is that I use, and then it's also telling me the output that it gave. Okay, and then finally, what if they ask you for f of 5? Does that mean you use both of them? They both have a 5. Look, 5 and 5. Does that mean you use both of them? No. All right. If you remember up here, when you read these inequalities, it said x is a number that is greater than 5. It can't be 5. It can be 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, but it can't be 5. Here's where it has the equal sign, where it does include the 5. X is a number that is equal to 5 or what? Less than it. So here's the function that you use when it's a 5. So for 5, I know you see a 5 here on both of them, but you don't use both. You're only going to use one. Which one are we going to use here? Which function? Which of these two are we going to use? This one has the equal sign, so it's f of x is equal to 4x minus 6. Okay? And you're going to get what? Well, wherever, right here where the x is, I put a 5. Right here I put a 5, so that's going to be f of 5 is equal to 4 times 5 minus 6. Okay, so that's going to be 20. Take away 6. That's going to be 14. This is how you write the answer. You don't just write 14. Okay, I'll do one more problem on. Actually, I'll do it here real quick. There's going to be some that have 3, so they look a little bit more intimidating. Here's number 2. So I'll just go over kind of how to look at it, which I think you're going to get it now, but just to make sure, the one that has 3 would look something like this: 9x plus 1, x squared plus 4, and 2x minus 5. This is what I mean by 3. I got this h of x, I got this h of x, I got this h of x. I kind of have 3 functions happening here. But when do you use each one? You don't use all 3. Well, that's when you got to look at, and again on delta math it'll say 4. But it doesn't matter. And then here's where you got to pay attention here on the inequalities here, because that'll tell you which one you use. This one says when x is less than negative 4. This one says this. And this one says this. Okay, so I'm just going to go over knowing which one to use. Okay, so let's say it's asking you to find f of 5. Which one would you use? Well, that means that your value of x is 5, right? Can you use this one? Nope. This one says you only use the values of x that are less than negative 4. Less than negative 4, like negative 5, negative 6, negative 7. Nope. This inequality, this is a compound inequality, is saying that x is the numbers between positive 2 and negative 4. So it's greater than negative 4. It can be negative 4. And it kind of reaches up to 2, but it's not. It's less than 2. But positive 5 is not there. So if it's asking you to use f of 5, that means x is 5, you'd use this one, see? You'd use which function? H of x is equal to this one here, 2x minus 5. And then you figure it out. Okay, what if they ask you for 0? What if they ask you for f of 0? That means x is 0. Can't use this one here. I'm only going to use the values that are greater or equal to 2. Don't use this function. 0 would be here, right? because here the values of x are between positive 2 and negative 4, so 0 would lie in here. So to evaluate 0, you would use only this function. Okay, and what about f of 2? Well, careful, careful. There's a 2 here, and there's a 2 here. But where is it where it's equal to 2? Right here, see? Here it's a 2, but it's not actually 2. It's a number less than 2. Here's where it's equal to 2. So for f of 2, you would use this one. And finally, something like f of negative 6. Right, this one, I'm sorry, going back to this one, this is x is equal to 2. This one is what? Saying that x is what? Negative 6. For x is negative 6, which one? So you got to look here to see which of the 3 to use. You don't use all of them. Okay, so obviously a number less than negative, here this one says x is a number that is less than negative 4, while negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. See, for x equals negative 6, you would use this function here, and then you evaluate it and get the answer. All right, there it is. Good luck with the assignment.